Hey, good morning. Let's go over today's trade plan. So in the overnight session, the market has been balancing in quite a narrow range, with sell side active at that 56 quarter high volume node and buyers active around that 51 support. Heading into the open, we have pre-market support at 50.75 to 52.75. This is an aggressive area of support, and for that reason, we are going to have to see signs in real time supporting the bullish bias in order to trade that zone to the long side. On the upside, we have resistance at 55.5 to 56.5, primarily with the overnight high and the 56 quarter being within that zone. Beyond that, we have yesterday's high at 58 quarter, initial resistance at 60 to 62. We have last week's high at 63 quarter, and then we have resistance at 65 quarter, 67 quarter, and better resistance at 71 half and 73 to 75. So the main question heading into today is whether the breakout from yesterday is now going to be a successful and sustained breakout, because you need to see follow through on the following day after the breakout in order for it to be a successful or valid breakout. And that's why our short-term bias heading into the open is neutral bullish. It's not just completely bullish. We don't have necessarily time frame alignment yet. And that's why we still have to be fairly nimble on the day time frame, read the market in real time, and make sure that we are continuing to see bullish signals in order to support a continuation move into 60.62 and testing last week's high at 63 quarter. Off the open, weak internals or a lack of upside momentum can lead to continued bouncing in the overnight range, and then if we start to see downside momentum, we could even revisit 45 to 48. That is the breakout retest area, and that is really the key spot on the day time frame if yesterday's breakout is going to remain intact. So if we fail at 45.48, then technically the breakout becomes invalidated, and then from there we can go down to 37 quarter, 39 quarter, and we can still find responsive buyers at the support zones below, but then the breakout is out of the picture. On the upside, if we're continuing to see bullish momentum and participation from the other markets, then we can quite easily test 60 to 62 and last week's high at 63 quarter. Now, we need to be a bit cautious at shorting 60 to 62 and 63 quarter, because if we're going up on a lot of bullish momentum and the other markets are again in breakout mode and resuming the breakout from yesterday, then we don't necessarily have to stop at 60 to 62 or 63 quarter. I think it is going to be valuable to keep an eye on the other markets. If you are watching the Russell, there is resistance around 1390 half to 1393 half. So if the Russell is exhausted into 90 half to 93 half, and the ES is also hitting a resistance zone at the same time, that would make for a better short idea. So if ES is exhausted into 63 quarter or 65 quarter to 67 quarter, and Russell is testing 90 half to 93 half, then that could be an area where sell side steps in. From a timing perspective, that could be a time where responsive sellers step in, because today is Friday. We're heading into the weekend. There are French elections taking place, or at least the first round of French elections taking place on Sunday. So, things could still be fairly balanced on the day time frame. We don't necessarily have to just shoot completely higher without looking back. So we might just balance at higher prices even if the breakout is successful. If you're watching NQ, then you know that we're not too far away from the all-time high in NQ, and that's at 54.81 quarter. So if NQ gets exhausted into the 54.80, 81 quarter area, then again, responsive sellers can step in, and if that coincides with ES hitting a resistance zone as well, then from a timing perspective, that is a time where sell side could step in and we could see some profit taking. But those are things that need to be read in real time, and that's why at 60.62, at the 63 quarter area, 65 quarter, 67 quarter, we need to really make sure that if we are shorting the market there, that we are timing it correctly, because that is a good enough area of resistance. Even the 60.62 is a good enough area of resistance. Last week's high at 63 quarter and the 65 quarter, 67 quarter area, these are all valid areas of resistance, but we just have to balance that with the fact that the buyers are going to be dominant heading into that area. So it's not necessarily going to be an automatic short. It's something where we'll have to time it, we'll have to read the context in real time, determine the level of momentum, figure out whether the market's actually exhausted into it, look at the other markets and see the level of bullishness we're seeing over there. So, today being a Friday and with the other markets near resistance, ES approaching resistance, NASDAQ near the all-time high, it's going to take a little more finesse to determine what is going to be a good area that could provide potentially a good short. Because right now we know that if we break out, the bias is going to be bullish, the buyers are going to be dominant. On the downside, 45 to 48 is going to be the key spot, and if that does not hold, then of course we can head down to 37 quarter, 39 quarter, still a spot where buyers can be active, and we'll have to determine the level of weakness then that we're seeing in real time. Unless we're seeing excess weakness, then we can still consider longs at the support zones below. So those are the main ideas heading into the open. Let's see if the buy side can maintain its short-term control above pre-market support and initial support, and we'll take it from there.